This is a weekend challenge.
I've got 48 hours to panel a wall, swap a radiator, build a built-in bookcase and colour drench the entire room. And I may have promised my girlfriend that I'd have this finished by Sunday night. I don't have the luxury of empty rooms and unlimited time. This is just how DIY is done in real life.
In this video, I'm going to be replacing the old radiator. I'm going to be paneling that wall. I'm going to be painting all the walls. In fact, I'm going to be colour drenching, which means I'm going to be doing the skirting boards as well. And to top things off, I'm going to be adding some shelving like a bookcase in this corner right here, and it's going to look amazing when it's done. It's 9 AM at the time of filming this, and I've got to act quickly to make sure this room is done by the end of the day. I've just used the ox level to put a line exactly where the paneling is going to go on that wall. I first started with the dado rail because for me that was probably the most important part to get the height of where the two different types of paneling are going to meet. So now I know that I've got plumb lines all the way down the wall exactly where I want the paneling to be. Wish me luck, because this dado rail is all bowed out of shape. Well, I didn't film any of that by accident, but it went terribly. As you'll see, some of the nails haven't fully gone in, and that's because there isn't a lot of plaster behind here, which you're not to know until you start this. But I did decide to go a little bit higher up on the underneath of the dado rail so that I had more material to go into and the nail didn't hit the brickwork behind and turn into that. All I have to do now is get some pliers and just pull that out, and that one as well. But can you see the difference in the one just next to it and that one that hit the brickwork? That's going to be on there just like that, and then we're going to have another piece which sits next to it, which is going to be 2 inches in, and there's a really cool little trick for getting that really quick and easy right every time. I'm going to cut 6 lengths, get them stuck, and then get them pinned. Quick tea break. I don't think I'm going to have enough to finish the whole wall. I probably need about 4 more lengths than I've bought, so I'm going to have to go back to B&Q later today. To give myself a nice quick line which is already level and plumb, I'm using this 2-inch block to draw the line where my inner beading is going to sit. This gives me a solid line that's lined up perfectly with the outside beading, and it really does speed the whole process up. Back from B&Q, it is a very sunny day, so it's very hot in the car. I'm glad the camera's come back into focus because I've got all these new mouldings, which should hopefully mean we have everything we need to finish the paneling off. This next part should be a bit quicker because I've got these miter cutters. Essentially, they're going to do the same job as my miter saw outside, except I don't have to go outside. I can just set it to 45 degrees with this thing here, and then I can just chop the wood in place. Just like that. And I've got a nice 45 on this moulding, which means I can offer this up, make a mark, do the next cut and move on to the next. It's not a very good join, and also because I've been using the DeWalt Sack and Fix nailer, they're 32mm long brads. Those brads go in through the wood and then into the plaster behind. If the plaster isn't deep enough behind, it hits the brickwork and then kind of just stops dead or bounces back, I'm not quite sure, but it really does damage the timber. And as you can see there, it not only cracked the moulding, but it did bounce back, and it's just caused some damage, which just does not look good. Not only that, it wasn't cut quite right either. So I've had to use the multi-tool on that corner. Once I filled this in, it is at the top of the room, it's by the ceiling, so you won't see it. My perfectionism doesn't like that though. It just means that I've got to work extra harder when I'm doing the paneling for all of the others. So maybe there's another nail gun that can do like smaller nails, a nail gun that I don't know about. Fact is, I'm seriously on a deadline to get this paneling finished now because it's 6 o'clock at the time of filming this. Both of the kids are here. It's their bedtime at 7 and I'm enrolled in those bedtime duties. So I need to get as much of this paneling done as I can before 7 o'clock. I was hoping to get it all done, so the noisy stuff done, so when they are asleep, I can come and just basically prime up the pine so that it's ready for painting first thing tomorrow morning. Wish me luck, let's get into it. When I tried to finish this off, I was getting super frustrated. All of the pins that I was using in my DeWalt second fix nail gun were bouncing off the bricks at the back. It looked terrible. It was taking me ages to pull them out with a plier or to snip them off and try and fill them in. So I'll come up with a solution. And here it is. This is the DeWalt second fix nail gun. I've used this for loads of stuff. It's one of my favorite tools. Not only does it look cool, it works so well. And these are the nails, the brads, you could say, that go into this gun. I don't know if that's in focus. Let's see if we can. You can see how bent the end of that is, and it looked absolutely terrible, and it was taking ages. I was getting really frustrated, and I thought to myself, the kids need to go to bed soon. I need to get the house in order, and I might as well call it a day, wait a few days, because I ordered a new tool. This is my new baby. It is so it says on the back, the automatic 23 gauge pin nailer by DeWalt. This thing is actually a little bit scary, but it's also amazing. So this you don't have to press anything on the end to fire this. You can just fire it, which is the scary part in my opinion. But it's got the same sort of mechanism. You pull the cartridge down and you put these pins in, and they're all different sizes. And that's going to allow me now to put these tiny headless pins into the panel work, which then probably won't even need filling after. So it's a lot less filler, it's a lot less time, there's no bouncing off the brickwork. This thing is going to speed the whole thing up. I'm going to put the link to this in the description so you can easily find it. I bought this one from Amazon. I felt like it was the fastest delivery and one of the best prices too. Also, you get the returns if you don't like it. But I've used it a few times, not on this project, but since getting it yesterday, I've tried it out a few times on just a little piece of timber, and it is unbelievable. And I can't wait to get putting this paneling on. That is one of the best tools. That's the paneling finished, but we've only just applied the filler, so we're gonna have to wait for that to dry before I can get the primer coat on, which means we still can't paint the room unless we start on the other side. I do need to remove the radiator anyway, so I'm going to remove that radiator in hopes that that will dry out, and then I can start doing some cutting in of the colour coats.
I'd love to say that this radiator was an easy part of the project, but it really wasn't. I'm not sure whether it's my lack of plumbing knowledge, which most probably was, or this radiator was particularly awkward, but I was really struggling to drain all of the water out of the pipes and the radiator. Multiple times I covered the floor with water. I was actually worried that the laminate was going to start soaking up the water and swell.
Taking that radiator off the wall felt like so much drama. I can't believe it. But this is the new one. and we need to see what the brackets look like before we can move to the next step, because if the brackets are different, which I imagine they are for this column radiator, then we're going to need to put them on the wall first, and then we can align up where we're going to be doing all the painting. So I'm going to take the old brackets off. We need to paint that whole wall, so we need to paint behind this, because as you can see straight through the columns. It needs to be all painted the same colour as the room, and then we'll be able to hang this on. I also need to put the new valves on that I've got, which connect up to this, and that also needs to be done now that the whole heating system is drained. This is typical. There's no instructions on how to actually hang this radiator, and these are the brackets. It's not as simple as it might first seem, because we need to set the height of the radiator, but these fit underneath and inside the radiator, which means I kind of need to get the height first. I need to spend some time working this out, and time is not something I have a lot of. I want to get this room painted today, and time is already ticking. At the time of filming this, it is currently 12:20. So I've got quite a few more hours left to go, but this is going to take a lot longer than I first wanted. So much later in the day than anticipated, but we're looking at like 1 o'clock now, and I'm only just putting on the primer. This is the stuff that I'm going to be using. It's the bin primer. It's shellac. I've used this once before on a door frame, and this stuff is amazing. I can recoat this in 45 minutes. So I'm going to work across the paneling. I don't mind if I get it on the walls, but the main thing is I cover all of the pine, because this stops any of the knots showing through.
I've done quite a few DIY plumbing projects in the house now, so changing a radiator felt like an easy job for me. But this was far from easy. It was definitely the most frustrating part of the whole project. Getting the pipes empty of water, prepping them up so that the copper shines through, and getting the new valves on took way more time than expected, but they did look amazing. And that's when this happened.
Whoa, dude. Why is loads of water coming out of that? That's not good.
For like the 5th or 6th time, I drenched the floor again. The floor was starting to swell. There's nothing worse than trying to make a room better, but actually making it worse. Plumbing definitely won this battle.
Now I can get some paint on this area, let it dry, and then we can get the radiator on, and then this part of the room is done. We should be just ready to get on with it now. I'm going to open this tin up, show you the colour, which is absolutely beautiful, and we'll go from there. Day 3 of the weekend challenge, and by day 3 you would think that it's kind of a fail, but actually I think this is more like day 1.5, and I'll explain. Because on the first day I spent so little time working because I had to go back to the shop to get things, and it was just, to be honest, the first day was a complete shambles. And there's only one way of making this a really fair weekend challenge, and that's to give myself half a day between now and lunchtime, which now is like 9 o'clock in the morning, to get this room finished. But the reality is I don't think we will. I've been very ambitious, and I've decided to build a bookshelf from scratch, which I'm going to install over a built-in unit that I already have in there, and then it's got to be painted. So there is a lot of work ahead, but the fact is we're still going to transform this room, and we're going to see what it looks like at the end very soon.
This is actually a part of the project I'm really proud of. I took the time in advance to draw all of this out. Those accurate measurements were so useful when I went to B&Q. I could have all of this sheet plywood cut down to size. For me to get an 18mm 2.4 meter by 1.2 meter sheet home would be very difficult. Not only will the size not fit in my van, a couple of sheets of this is pretty heavy and not nice to be moving around. So having all of this material cut on the sheet cutter at B&Q was a massive time saver and also very accurate. This whole process must have only taken around an hour.
The bookshelf project was supposed to be a really quick project, but I've decided to take a little bit more time, care and attention, and I'm going to be covering the ends of the softwood ply that I bought for the shelving. Originally I was going to do some sort of face frame, or maybe just leave it as it was and just give it a good sand and make it nice and smooth and then prime it, but I've decided to get some edge banding, which I don't currently have, so it's on order, and I'm going to use that to cover the ends of these shelves, because at the end of the day I think it's going to make a big difference to the final outcome. And that just means the project's going to go on for one more day. And I think you've got to be really true to yourself and real when you're doing these projects, that even if you want it done quickly, sometimes the best results do take a bit more time. That is the end of day 3. Well, technically 2.5 days we've been working on this project. And right now the whole room has been painted twice. And look at the paneling. The paneling is amazing. This lighting doesn't do it justice. Also, it's not fully dry, so we've got to take that into consideration. But the radiator's on, the paneling's been done. The paneling was primed, it was glued. We've had a second coat of colour. The skirting boards have been drenched. The architrave has been done. The room is now drenched in this beautiful colour that we got from V&Co, and it's looking great. I'm going to put the room back together, and then there's 2 more things left to do. Well, 3. One is build the bookshelf, which is half complete, and then we're going to paint the bookshelf and the cabinet below in the same colour to bring it all together. This room is about to feel completely different. These look really good. This edge beading is made from beech and it looks so good. I'm going to be putting a plug socket in it because I don't want any cables lying around the place. I want a nice neat cable arrangement for the lighting that's going to sit inside here. Moment of truth, we've got to test if the lamp fits. Oh, it's the perfect fit. What we need to do now is secure that to the wall. Can't have it falling over. This morning, I've got a challenge. I've got to try and put a face frame on this bookshelf. Truth is, if this fits first time, I will be gobsmacked. That's actually really good. It's not good enough that I don't have to use filler afterwards, but I can live with it. The way I see it, there's already holes that need filling, so I'm just going to pin this face frame and then fill the holes after. It might not be how the professionals do it. As Jeremy Clarkson says, speed and power. I'm hoping that I've got some more of this in the garage from when I did this originally. I'm hoping I can just do that, mark off where it intersects, and then cut it down that line. I had a lot of trouble with this last time. Let's hope I can do it right this time. I don't care what anyone says. There's nothing worse than cutting coving. Now I've got to try and match these in. Yes, yes. So I've realised it's pretty much impossible to recover from this mistake. I didn't have enough material on the inside of this mitre. So on the inside of one of these cuts, you need to be able to see the inside of the material. And that's something that I've seen on a YouTube video. If you're cutting an inside mitre on some coving, you've got to see the inside of the material, which makes perfect sense. That is going to go in there and replace the piece on the ceiling. We're done. The bookshelf is done, although it still needs painting. This is the end of day 4, which is technically day 3.5. This was supposed to be a weekend challenge, but I'm the type of person that when I see something that needs doing, I like to do it well, I like to do it right, and this is a prime example of that. I wanted to build a bookshelf that I was proud of. When this is fully painted, it's gonna look absolutely unbelievable. Today we put the tulip face frame on, we pinned it all in place. Honestly, it looks really good. There's gonna be maybe another day's worth of work on this entire project to make it all come to life, and that will be a lot of painting. Finally, in a position to get this completed. We've got the first coat of the primer on, which means the surface is now ready for the colour. This is the bit I'm really excited about. I've dreamt of having this bookshelf in this alcove for a really long time.
This room was one of the first rooms we did when we moved into the property. We did it quick and we did it plain, as it was mainly a refuge from the building site, which was the rest of the house. But in reality, it's unfinished, it's boring, it's dull, and in fact, it's a little bit grubby.
I belong to you. I belong to you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust, and I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else. Yeah. Let you down.
weekend challenge that turned into 6 full days. Although it turned into more days, it did allow me to increase the quality of outcome. So I was able to add that bookcase in the corner, which made such a big difference to the room. It wasn't on my initial plans, but I'm so glad I did it. It feels great to finally get this room ticked off the renovation to-do list, but there are so many more DIY and renovation jobs to do in this house. So make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with the progress, and I'll see you in the next one.